This season of Durarara X2-10 continues to get better. We have more Izaya and Shinra in one episode. And it's not just that, we get a flashback revealing more characterization of Izaya and Shinra and their complicated relationship. I'm surprised to see an episode like this, like with last week's episode being like an Izaya episode, and then, Shinra and all that type of stuff. I didn't expect to see an episode like this that was focusing on these two characters going into their past, how they met, how they got together, and some of the reasons why they kind of could be considered friends somewhat. And so to see how this episode of Durarara was done, excellent. It was definitely an excellent episode that explains a lot, answers a lot of questions, and explains why Shinra even hangs out around Izaya to begin with, but also we get to see what type of person Izaya is, not just for his Joker attitude of, saying, I love humans, even if you're dying, not just that attitude. He has this other personality about him, which I do want to dive into. So, let's talk about the flashback, which I'm really happy to say I like, because usually when it comes to anime or manga or anything, sometimes when it comes to a flashback, it can get kind of boring, where you don't really like the flashback. Like, that's how a lot of series are to me. Like, depending on the flashback, depending on where it's placed at, sometimes a flashback can just be there and you're like, oh my fucking god, I don't care about this. But I'm glad this flashback was here, because it was very enjoyable, and I felt like it didn't stay and overstay its welcome in multiple episodes. It got everything out of the way in just one episode, and I felt like that was perfectly executed. So, flashback, let's talk about it. So, we go into the past of the high school life of Shinra and Izaya, and how they met. So, Shinra reveals that he's kind of lonely, which we can kind of already consider that at the time. We kind of already knew that. But he says, I'm lonely, I don't really have any friends. And Izaya, at that time, as you could tell, he didn't have any friends either. He was in a very similar situation as Shinra, and he couldn't have anyone to hang out with, because, who was going to accept Izaya's personality? Think about this. If you're hanging around Izaya, and his twisted and evil personality comes out all the time, could you really be around that person 24/7? Most likely not. Let's just face the facts, okay? And anime is one thing of enjoying a character, but hanging around a person that has that type of personality would kind of be a little bit difficult to stand. So besides the entire aspect of Izaya's personality, Shinra and Izaya, they meet and they actually become great friends in some way. For instance, they make this club called Biology, and in the act of making this club, Izaya decides to do his own independent research of figuring out who Shinra really is, and in the act of his research, he becomes interested in Shinra to see exactly who this person is, which leads into some very interesting dialogue later on down the road in this episode. So Izaya decides, since you seem so interesting, I want to, make this club. I'll be the vice president, I'll be here, and I will come to the club every day. And to see how that was done, it just goes to show you once again how Izaya's personality was in the past, but also we get to see how Shinra looks at Izaya's personality and how he kind of opened up to him in a little bit, and their twisted friendship kind of formed, which leads into the main conclusion of this flashback that focuses on this third-party member that comes in through the door into the biology club room and stabs Shinra. And here's the funny thing that I really liked about that conversation. Izaya says, hey, say I stabbed you, but in turn, I get to ruin that dude's life for the rest of his life. And that's exactly what happened. We get clarification on the past couple episodes with the gang members, but also the dude we saw that kind of looked like Izaya in some way with his fashion attire. Izaya was ruining this dude's life. So, Izaya, once again, another fucked up, twisted way to go about it, but we get to see a different side that had more humanity behind it. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below about this week's episode of Durarara. How do you feel about Celty kind of figuring out that Izaya has her head? How do you feel about Izaya showing a little bit more humanity than he normally does? Let me know your thoughts. Please be safe. Chibi out.